One of the most notorious general motor patterns is the hip hinge. The hip hinge is what the old adage, lift with your legs and not with your back, used to talk about. It's about keeping your spine in line as you use the most powerful muscles in your body, your hip muscles. Primarily your hip extenders, which are your glutes. So I like to use a tool for first timers learning how to hinge. It helps to keep the spine in line. So anything that you have lying around the house, a broomstick, a golf club, a cane, or an old PVC pipe will be useful here to make sure that we have a good immediate feedback from our spine and making sure that we keep our back healthy and safe during hinging. So the hinge motion is also a heels and hip. If you think back to where our squat started, it was technically a hinge that we start the squat with. We shift our weight back through our heels and we poke our butt back behind us, and just right there, I've already started my hinge. And if that's where we have to start before we lose contact with this bar, then that's fine. And essentially your range of motion is going to be determined by your flexibility of your posterior chain, primarily those glutes and hamstrings where this motion is coming from the most. I like to grab onto this bar in whatever manner I can to maintain the positioning of that bar in 3 places. So that bar is going to connect right to my tailbone, right here between my butt cheeks, right to my middle back, between my shoulder blades, and to the back of my head. That's what's going to create that straight line spine. And then I'm going to complete the hip hinge motion. So it's hip flexion down, shifting my weight through my heels, flexing down into those ball and socket joints, loading my hips and heels here, feeling maybe a pull or a stretch in my hamstrings. Then I'm going to drive through those heels, pushing the hips forward. And just like the squat, if you were to imagine a red dot on my hips here, I go back behind my center line from this lateral view, and I squeeze right back up to a good standing postural position. The hip hinge is, as I said, it depends on your range of motion for how low you may go. So it's a good flexibility exercise if you don't have good range of motion in those hamstrings. If you have good range of motion, then we can really start to load up and create that lifelike movement of picking up a box or picking up your grandchild or something like that. We start with our good standing posture and we load back through the hips and heels, keeping a straight line spine. From that front view, it really looks almost like I don't do much motion except for at the hips. There's no deviation of my toes outward. The hip, knee, ankle alignment, as we talked about in the squat video, also stays locked in place. A point to note on the lateral view is as you start loading this up and getting stronger, this is one of the most powerful lifts that you're going to see out there, and especially in the gym world where they're using barbells and heavy weights. The reality is this is your most powerful athletic motion. So as you get stronger and stronger, what's going to happen is you're going to have to work on your shoulder blades and your upper back. Same thing happens with the squat. As you get stronger, you have to build up that upper body posture in order to maintain the force transfer from the arms to the shoulders to the spine and down into those hip muscles that are our primary movers here. So this is hip flexion, hip extension, that's the primary motion. But if my shoulders aren't strong enough, I'm going to lose all posture, and that's where we lose that straight line spine. So very important to note posture in your hip hinge. One of the most important exercises that you can use to build overall strength in your strength training routines.